I've still got young children. Spending time with those children is important. I'm working far more hours than I'd like to be able to work. And at the moment, somebody has to be unhappy with their state of financial freedom. So financial freedom for us, so there's two aspects. We focus on the business, but bigger than that is the business owner. I think it's incredibly easy to think that financial freedom is purely about finance, but I believe it's so much more than that. What does success really look like to that person? Nobody wants to sit and do the boring thing. You're better off having tried and failed than you are of not really having tried at all. You won't be any closer to financial freedom unless you start.
Hi there, and welcome to the Leaky Bucket Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Morgan, and this is the Financial Performance Podcast for entrepreneurs looking to get a better understanding of their numbers, to plug the leaks in their business, and to move from surviving to thriving.
Hello, and welcome to the Leaky Bucket Podcast. Today I'm going to be speaking to Ian about financial freedom. So one of the main things at MBS is the importance of having financial freedom, but it's quite a loose term. What do you actually mean by financial freedom?
Yeah, so financial freedom for us, so there's two aspects. We focus on the business, but bigger than that is the business owner. So from the business perspective, financial freedom is the business to be able to run as financially free as possible. So it has suitable cash flow and also suitable cash within the bank that the business can cover if there was suddenly a major client left or something along those lines. But from a client or the business owner perspective, financial freedom is having the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want. So it's that balance between like having enough money, but also having the time to enjoy what that money could potentially bring. So there's no value in potentially, I don't know, earning £1 million but working 90 hours a week. Like, where's the time to enjoy it?
So it's not purely monetary?
No, it's a balance. It's more their version of success. What does success really look like to that person? And it's usually a balance between time and money.
So there's different levels for different people, I'm guessing, or what it means for different people?
Yeah, definitely. I think for some people, they don't see a problem at all with working a 90-hour week, and nor do their children, their partner, whatever. But for other people, the hours that they work is massively important, and they need to keep that well under control and make sure that they've got that healthy balance. So, and it is a balancing game. You can't have somebody who maybe is frustrated because they're working too many hours and they don't have enough money. You can't fix both at the same time. Like, you can't earn more money and work less hours in one go. You have to sort of challenge one and move that to where you want it to be before you then move on to the other and challenge that.
So is that one of the misconceptions, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly easy to think that financial freedom is purely about finance, like it's about money.
Yeah.
And that what you need to do is be able to earn as much money as possible. But I believe it's so much more than that. Like, if you go and speak to somebody who's much older, they're a parent, a grandparent, often what they're saying is that if you ask them about what they regret from life, it's just not spending enough time with loved ones. Yeah, it's never, or very, very rarely is it, I should have worked more and earned more money. It's, I should have been around more, I should have spent more time, I don't know, playing games rather than trying to be serious about this thing or that thing.
Yeah.
We should listen more to older people, because it's so easy just to get caught up in it and go, oh, but it's just 5 more minutes here, and then it's half an hour, and then it's an hour, and then it all disappears. And then where's, like, what's the point in that business? The point in that business was to change the business owner's life, but change it for the good, not and for better, and not not to be working all the time. It can consume somebody.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I know that you've said that there's different levels for different people, but if you were going to give just a few qualities of a business that has financial freedom, what do you think like the bare?
I think it varies so much for every different business owner.
Yeah, that is a tricky question.
It's not even an age thing. Because I was going to go, oh yeah, but if you're in your 20s, it's different. I think it's a time in life thing. I think to take my example, I've still got young children. Spending time with those children is important.
Yeah.
So I try and keep a control then over the hours that I'm working, because actually I've got something better to do with my time. But if I was single and I didn't have children, what else do you do? Maybe I just work, and that's fine, and I'm happy, and I'm not compromising of anything potentially, or there's less impact on other people from me not choosing to do other things. So I think I think it depends. I also think it depends on there is an aspect that's depending on age, because there's an element of energy. Like, if you are going to be putting in 16-hour days or whatever to get to where you want to be, then can you do 16 hours days when you're 50, 60? I don't know. I'm not.
Do you want to be doing 16-hour days when you're 60?
No, not at all. So I think that if you're looking for those features, it's asking yourself, what do you really want? And if you know what you really want, is that what you're really getting? Because actually, if the time off is important because you want to be able to do X, Y, and Z with it, do you actually have that time off? Or are you doing the opposite of what you want? Yeah, because as a business owner, there's always something to do or something to fix within the business.
Yeah, it's not like it just ends at like 5 o'clock.
No. So actually, if you don't create yourself some boundaries and some rules, you could work 24 hours a day if you wanted. So where are those boundaries? And how do you impose them? Do you need somebody else to impose them upon you? Or can you be self-disciplined and go, do you know what, that's the end time, done? Because like I say, you can always go, yeah, but that's the end time for that thing. Now I can pick up this thing instead and carry on. So how can you be disciplined around that? This is what I'm happy to give, and this is then what I get.
Is that one of the important steps, would you say? What are the steps to gaining the financial freedom?
Okay, the first step is being clear of where you're trying to get to. So what does that future version look like? Because if you don't know where you're going, how do you know when you get there? So step one, know what the future looks like. Step two is then be honest about what it looks like now. So if you said that in the future, I only want to work 3 days per week and I want to earn £100,000 a year, where are you at now? Are you 5 days? Are you 6? Are you 7? And you've got to be honest, because if it is 7, but you lie and say it's 5, like, you're not going to do the effort that's required to go down to 3. You're 2 days short. Actually, you're going to go from 7 to 5. So you need to be honest about where you're really at right now. And the same about the earnings. Like, you might be able to, or you might be taking, I don't know, let's say we said 100,000, let's say 50,000. You might be taking 50,000 out of the company per year, but maybe the company can't afford that. Maybe the company can only afford 25. So actually, the reality is it's 25 because that money's going to run out at some point. So you need to be able to identify the gap ultimately. If you don't know what the gap is, how are you going to move from here to there? Once you've got that gap, it's then the question of going, yeah, but why am I not there today? What are all the obstacles? Whether they are real physical obstacles in front of us or whether they are mental blockages. What are all those obstacles that are stopping the 1 year version or 2 year version or 3 year version, whatever it is, why is that not happening today? Because if there weren't any obstacles, it would be the reality.
Yeah.
So what are those obstacles? And then actually it's just a breakdown, just okay, what actions would you need to take to overcome each of those obstacles? And they're either things that you need to start doing or things you need to stop doing. You know, the start might be I need to start hiring people because I'm taking on all the tasks myself. The stop might be I need to stop thinking that I'm better than everybody else and therefore I'm not willing to give somebody else a go to take it off me because I think I can do a better job. Yeah, how much are you getting in your own way is the big question.
Do you think that delegating is an important part of financial freedom?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just get away with the easy question. We'll just go yeah, most likely. No, I think delegating is key because nobody can conquer the world and change it on their own. Like you need an army.
Yeah.
And in order to start a business, you have to think that you can achieve the impossible. But then at some point on that journey, the reality has to set in that you go, actually, I'm probably average at most of those things. I just was able to see how they could all be pulled together. Now I need to hire people who are better than me in all of those areas that I possibly can, particularly starting with the weaker areas. And then let them do their thing. Like, yeah, like I'm poor at organizing and structuring and then probably responding and things off the back of that. I do it. It takes a lot of energy and a lot of effort. So actually, why not just lean on other people and just go, if for somebody else managing their own time is ease and they just remember to do everything, actually they can probably assist you as well. So just go, oh, actually, I need to do this by such and such. Can you remind me? Or use tools. I'm a fan of using Slack. I'll write myself a message within Slack and then tell it to remind me in X days time or X hours time. So I make sure I do it, because otherwise I won't, because something else would have popped up and I'd go, oh, that's more interesting, or it ends up at the back. So but delegating is interesting as well, because actually you can't, in order to delegate, you have to be prepared to allow somebody to fail. And you have to also make it okay to fail. That if the environment in which everybody works is one where failure is not an option and it's not allowed, nobody will go outside of their comfort zone. Nobody will grow. Nobody wants to take anything off anybody that they don't know 100% how to do, because then there becomes a punishment type environment. And then you go, well, why would I even attempt to do that if I don't know how to do it?
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to get told off at the end of it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean to say that if you get somebody to do something and they don't quite do it how it was intended, that doesn't mean there can't be a learning point off the back of it and go, okay, how does that improve? Mm-hmm. But the important thing is to go, that wasn't a failure, it was a learning.
Yeah.
And I think that is an art. There's an art to delegation. One of those is that it's a failure, an environment where failure is allowed. Mm-hmm. And then I think when you're giving a task to somebody, you have to be clear, like, what's the outcomes that were expected?
Yeah.
When do you want it by? When does it have to come back to you so you know? And where should they be going if it's not working, if it's not happening? Who should they be seeking help from, or where should they be seeking help from? And if you get all of those things in place, you find that most people will exceed the expectations. It'll often be done probably quicker than expected, to a better quality than expected, if you're asking the right people to do the right things.
Because if you don't, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, aren't you, really? You're slowing yourself down if you don't delegate. Because there is delegating and there's delegating effectively, isn't there?
Yeah, like I'm sure I delegate tasks off to you, right? For example, at times, right? But they have to be effective ones. So one of the ones that was good to delegate off was you being able to do discovery calls. Fine. But you can't just arrive day one and go do discovery calls. Yeah, there has to be a training process.
Yeah, and there had to be.
But actually, and again, right, it was okay in that environment when we went through that. It was okay to fail. Yeah, it didn't matter that those first few occasions, like, it's not working, because it was okay. But how do you learn? How do you improve? And eventually, it was like almost like what we did, which try lots of different keys to unlock the padlock, and eventually we found the right one. And then we're just like, oh wow, that was amazing. Right, okay. Now how do you do more of that?
It wasn't like a telling off because I'd not done well.
Yeah, and because how would that have been constructive? So now we go back to the situation, then we go in financial freedom and go, right, okay, for me, it was important to cut my time down. Now I can't cut my time down because I sabotaged by, not delegating effectively. Yeah. So just respect human beings and just go, if you're asking somebody to do something new, there's a balance probably between excitement and nerves. And how do you play more onto the excitement but cover the nerves around the fears of what could go wrong? Because if you don't delegate effectively, you're not going to get the financial freedom.
Do you find that quite hard? Do you find it quite hard telling business owners to kind of let go and highlight their weaknesses? Because obviously you have to think that you're kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say that ego is a very big thing in business, but you kind of have to have an ego to think that you're able to run a business.
Yes, you do. I wouldn't say I find it hard telling people. Quite comfortable with that.
Do people find it hard accepting it?
Yeah, that's probably more of the case. Yes and no. It depends on their level of pain. If the pain at the stage they're at, if the pain isn't yet big enough, then they won't want to accept it. They have to have got to the point where you go, an age-old thing that loads of business owners say is, I need to hire a mini-me. I just need to clone myself and hire that person. It's probably the last thing you want to actually be able to do, because what you'll end up doing is all of the same thing and none of the other things will end up being done. But the very fact that somebody's saying that and that's what they want to do, there's the pain moment, and that pain builds up and builds up and builds up, and then you go, actually, like, you are the problem, because you maybe hired 2 or 3 other people. Maybe you've had 10, but you only got 2 or 3 with you because you just keep firing people because they're rubbish. They don't do what they're asked to do because they weren't really asked to do it. You didn't delegate effectively. Going back to all the previous points we mentioned. So then you're frustrated by somebody's performance because you almost sabotaged the performance they were able to achieve because you didn't delegate effectively to them. So there's reasons why it's why we have the application process that we have, because we know that the level of service that we're going to deliver and the level of improvement that we're going to deliver, somebody has to be unhappy with their state of financial freedom. They're happy with it. Why would they want to keep working with us? And that first realization is you're getting in your own way. And the only way to have that better business is to become a better business owner yourself. And that starts with effective delegation.
Yeah. So that's one of the obstacles. What are some of the other obstacles to improving your financial freedom, I guess, instead of gaining?
Yeah, I think one is people want to do the sexy bit, right? People want to gain new clients, they want to do marketing, they want to go and meet new people, and they want to do all that sort of stuff because it's interesting, it's exciting, it's different, it's fun. Nobody wants to sit and do the boring thing of go, can you just go through the last 3 months bank statements and just highlight every cost that you don't know what it is or you don't think you should have spent the money? Like, it's just a boring activity. But you're almost guaranteed to find some money by going through the bank statement. Whereas I could go to multiple events and things and meet new people, and yet nobody wants to buy what we do. And I've had to spend money to find out that nobody wants to do what we want to do. Nobody wants to buy what we do. Whereas actually just going through the bank statements is a couple of hours task. And in most circumstances, you find a good chunk of money that's just being wasted on something where you went, oh, actually, that's going to change my business, so I'll buy that. And you paid for a subscription and then keep paying for it. It's like the age of people signing up for the gym in January and go, yeah, I'm going to get fit. And then it's October and you're still paying for the gym. You last went in February. Yeah, and you could just go, actually, if you go back through that, you can go, actually, cancel the gym membership because I'm not using it.
Yeah.
The other is it's the ego element. The business owner normally thinks that there's something special about them, and there probably is in terms of they're willing to take a risk and do all of those elements. But in order to move the business to the next level, you can't just do something because it's in your head and you know how to do it. If you're going to hire other people and get them to do things, you have to document the systems and the processes to be able to have the desired outcomes.
Yeah.
Because if you go back to the discovery call elements we look at, right, we had a process, yeah, and we were able to go, here's the process, this is what we do. If all we've done is just, well, we do discovery calls, get on with it, I don't even know what a discovery call is. Yeah. So you have to have that thing to go, right, we came up with them. We have to be able to get somebody else to get into our head of why we do them, what they are, what outcomes we're looking for, what problems do they overcome, what if we don't do them successfully, what problems does that cause down the line, what's the common mistakes, how do you avoid those? All of those have to be within a process so that the mistakes that you're free to be able to make are your mistakes, not mistakes that we could have prevented because 20 other people have already made them, and then nobody's documented to go, actually, don't do this because you get this outcome. And then it's constantly be learning. Like, just because you've documented that process once doesn't mean it's done and sorted. You have to be able to review that and go, where are the gaps, where are the holes, and how do you move to the next level?
And obviously the benefits are going to be different for different people, but what's some of the benefits that I'm not saying that you're financially free right now, but what are some of the benefits that you would see in being financially free?
Yeah, so we have an element of financial freedom. I don't think we're quite there. But compared to where I have been, money is far less of a concern. Time is a bit of a concern for me at the moment. Yeah, I'm working far more hours than I'd like to be able to work. And at the moment, most of my thinking time that I'm trying to put aside at the moment is about I don't think it's how we fix it, because I think I know the fixes. It's how do we prevent that from being a possibility in the future or reduce the risk of that in the future. So the benefits I think that I've seen are being aware of my own weaknesses. It's such a liberating strength that actually you spend so long when you're trying to sell to people to get them to be part of your journey, whether that's staff coming on board or hiring new clients, like getting them in as well, that you almost want to pretend everything's great. And it was having that realization factor to go, if everything was great, probably wouldn't be out there chasing new clients or trying to hire new people.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're growing and you're trying to hire somebody new because you're growing, the problem is if you don't hire that person, you can't grow. Yeah, or you can, but it will be painful for everybody that's already there. So I think definitely being aware of my own weaknesses, being aware of other people's strengths and learning to recognize those. And then being able to, like, on a personal level, being able to do what I want when I want with who I want. Like, I don't even know my plans this weekend. However, if suddenly we decided, you know what, we want to go and do this, it would just be a question then, okay, does it work and can we plan it? Do we have the funds to be able to do it? And through having more time available at weekends like, because we've created a business better and don't have to work weekends, they're then free enough for our time. The fact then that we've also fixed the financial elements and the business generates more money for us personally, that actually then more options become open to us. And that gives us more opportunity to do, for all of us to do what we want, when we want, with who we want.
This like backtracks a little bit, but obviously it's drilled into us that we need to work and we need to work really hard and our lives basically become our jobs. Is it quite hard kind of reversing that for some people and being like, you need to just stop? Because like you said, it's always, there's another thing on the to-do list. Or I remember at uni, if I didn't get enough work done at like the library or something, I would go home and be like, I've got to go back and do more.
I think it's incredibly challenging to be disciplined, to recognize when enough is enough. Like that, we're probably in an era now where working smarter achieves far much more than working harder. But we're raised by people who is complete opposite, and therefore we've still got this this underlying belief that actually if what we managed to do today was find a load of shortcuts to make something happen, and you don't feel like you've done enough effort, then we've got to do more.
Yeah.
But why not? You might have achieved more today because you were working smarter. The outcomes were better.
Yeah.
So I think it's being disciplined to go, what are the outcomes? What are you trying to achieve? And you're moving a step closer. And even then, actually, even if you've had a day full of failures, you're better off having tried and failed than you are of not really having tried at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. It's a massive challenge. I've got that problem. I still have that problem. It's less, but it's not disappeared.
Yeah.
And I probably know multiple people who have that problem. And yeah, you have to be disciplined to overcome it and just go, actually, enough's enough. And I find just having a check-in with somebody else and just going, oh, this is what I've achieved today, and just saying it out loud.
Yeah.
You go, okay, that's what I've achieved. I must have been working hard, but hard might have been smart.
No, I do that with Georgia. Like every day, I'm like, it's enough.
Yeah.
What are some of the potential negatives that could come with financial freedom?
The negatives are not being focused on the right things, not being truly honest with yourself. Like, you're living a version of financial freedom that's for somebody else, not for you. So, are you trying to earn more money to impress your neighbors or friends or whatever, when actually what was important to you was not that you earned more money, that actually you had more time to spend with your family. But you want to show there's an element of success. People don't really talk about what they really want. So I think the danger is not being true and honest to yourself, because then actually you're putting in a lot of effort to move in the right direction, but you're sabotaging and you're moving in the wrong direction, and you're not happy with the outcomes that you're achieving. So therefore you're going to feel frustrated, but you're probably not going to recognize that you were the source of that frustration.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to add? Anything else you really think people need to know about financial freedom?
No, I think you just got to get started. Like, you won't be any closer to financial freedom unless you start. So doing that exercise where you work out and go, this is what financial freedom really means to me. This is where I'm at. This is what's stopping me. This is what I'm going to do about it. And then get started. Because if you don't just sit down and spend that hour doing the thinking and mapping it out and writing it all down, you're never going to be any closer. And it'll be a year's time and you'll be having the same conversation going, still feel frustrated, don't feel like I've made any progress. Probably because you didn't.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Leaky Bucket podcast. I'd love it if you could help spread the message by clicking subscribe and leaving a review. Also, please do reach out to me on LinkedIn and let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can also find more info and links in the show notes below. See you next time.